Well, good morning, class. It's morning here, and I just wanted to, such a beautiful day again, I just wanted to recap your budget assignment because I read all your posts, and if I had to write a response to every one of them, we'd be there till next year. So I thought I'd just kind of recap the highlights. I printed off some of your posts, and we can talk about them a little bit. But, mostly all of you in all the classes I ever teach say this is one of the most difficult assignments, if not the most difficult assignment, because there's such little money and there's so many needs. And it's a real assignment. I got this from what I used to do at Don Lugo. That's the exact amount of money I had. I had 41 levels, 19 different sports, and we even added some. So, that $15,000, some odd cents, it doesn't go very far, and you have to be creative in how you disperse the money. You also have to be transparent because coaches know what the other guy's getting, and if they think they're not getting what they deserve, and they don't quite know what the other guy's getting, but they know he's getting more, there's going to be a lot of animosity, and you're not going to have buy-in, and there's just going to be a lot of problems. So I found out that you have to be transparent, and when I did my budget, it was a one-page budget. Every coach got it. They all knew what they were getting and what the other guy was getting and when they were getting it. And I had a uniform rotation every 3 years, and I'll put it up there for you so you can take a look at it. It's very simple. I didn't go into detail with them. I just showed them, here's the amount of money you're getting, here's how much we have to work with. Everybody seemed to understand it and not complain. I really never had complaints, and it worked for the 16 years that I used it. Some of the things that I just want to kind of go over a little bit. Samantha, you said this was the most difficult task because you didn't know exactly how much equipment costs within each sport. Well, that's a great question. I didn't either. But I had an idea because I coached various sports and both genders. I coached volleyball, wrestling, girls volleyball, wrestling, volleyball, I said that, and football and baseball. So I had an idea, and then, teaching PE, I knew a little bit about the water sports and what they required. So it gave me a background, but I had to do a lot of calling around and asking questions to find out what are their needs, because coaches will tell you what they want and they'll say they need it, but when it comes down to it, it's more of a want. So you got to understand that, and I think it's good to do your homework. Candace, you mentioned too it was a difficult task, and you had to contact your old principal to get some ideas on what things cost, and you talked about safety too, and the sports that need more money are the ones that have high risk, like football and that's true. Helmets, protective gear, that should be paid for by the district on a separate account, and it is for football. And at our school, I went to the district and I told them they should do the same thing for baseball, softball, wrestling for the headgear, water polo for the headgear. Any safety equipment, that was the district's responsibility, and that shouldn't come out of that little $15,000 for equipment and uniforms. So that's a key. You hit that right on the head. Also, catcher's equipment you mentioned too. That's safety, and that's the responsibility of the district. And a lot of districts don't understand that, so you're going to have to educate them in a good way. Don't go over anybody's head. Go through the proper channels and plead your case that way. That's what we had to do. Merritt, you mentioned to somebody that you appreciated how easy their budget was for us to understand, and that's what it's got to be. It can't be so detailed that coaches question every little thing and they don't understand it. So it should be simple and easy to read when you give it to them. The hard part is what you do behind the scenes. They don't need to know all the little details, of course, but it does need to seem fair to them, and you need to explain it if they ask. Craig, you brought something up that I always battled, and that is facilities and maintenance of facilities. It shouldn't come out of that money. because they rent it out. The district rents it out to youth sports, and we never see the money. But yet, if a scoreboard breaks down or the fields need renovated, then we have to struggle to get it done. Well, that should also be the district's responsibility. And again, it's just like the helmet issue. You have to educate them because they come and they go downtown. And some of these people that work with facilities and maintenance don't understand that. And it's a constant education because, as teachers and coaches, you're there for a long time. And the district people move. I call them Christmas help. They come and they go, and we're there forever. And so that's a key. You brought up a good point. Also, Craig, you brought up a point that we struggled with in our district. You mentioned about fundraising, and you gave your students or your athletes a choice of paying for it outright or fundraising to reduce the out-of-pocket expense. Well, if you were to say that in something written or even verbally, you could be challenged by that, and you probably wouldn't be backed up. The Office of Civil Rights would probably come down on that and say you can't do that. It's illegal, and it is. You can't require it. You can't require fundraising. You can't require a fee. You can't even say the word fee. It's not a fee. I think it was in 1992, if I'm correct, that Justice Rose Bird declared, she was a Supreme Court justice at the time, and she said that athletics is an integral part of the educational process, and therefore everything should be given to them. And and I know that can't happen, and we need fundraising, but there are ways to go about asking for it. Don't say you either pay for it or you fundraise. You have to be a little more skillful in how you go about saying what you did. I mean, I get it. We all do it. But what I used to do in my meetings with my parents is tell them, here's how much money we get. We have 41 levels of sport. Do the math. And there's no way we could give our kids what they want. We could probably give them their basic needs, and that's it. But if we want to get, nice spirit packs, and we want, these shoes, and we want sweats, whatever it is, we are going to have to fundraise, and we're asking you to help us. If you can't, please let me know. We're not requiring you, but we really need your help. We can't do this without you. You can say that and be within your rights, but if you were to put it in writing and say what you put down here, you would be challenged, and the Office of Civil Rights would say you can't do that. And you don't want that. We've had that in our district, and even though it wasn't at our school, there are 4 comprehensive high schools in our district. At one school, there were like 30 violations. At our school, there was 1, and it was in band. But when they look at one school in the district, they look at them all. And so you don't want to be in that situation. It opens up a can of worms. Mario, you mentioned that you missed a lot of items when it came to the budget because you simply couldn't think of all those things. And, it takes a while, and you need to talk to your coaches, and you need to determine what they need and what they want. He also mentioned in there about salaries, and it left you kind of puzzled that I didn't include the salaries in there. Well, stipends are completely different, and they're negotiated by the union in public schools. And so that's something that is, a separate budget. So when you add up, stipends, you add up transportation, you add up reconditioning for football equipment, things like that, it's very expensive to run an athletic program, totally. And you're going to have to be dealing with stipends as well. But, at our school, we had 56 stipends. At every school in our district, same amount of stipends. And we could split them, we could quarter them, we could be creative with them. You can also have your booster club raise money for it, but it's got to be sent to the district. Taxes got to be taken out. You can't just write a check to a coach. You can't even name a coach. You got to just donate the money from the booster club or your club account to the district. They take out the taxes and all the things that come out, and then they cut a check. But booster clubs can't determine who that check's going to. It's just going to a coach, not a name. But those are some of the things. And then, Natanya, you mentioned something about when teams run out of money, they're just going to have to fundraise and getting corporate sponsors, and that's a great thing. Corporate sponsors is a great thing, and I didn't tell you, on the budget I gave you, the one that I use, I supplemented that with a cell tower. We got a cell tower, and I got $1,000 a month for 25 years, and that's how I supplemented that budget. Because if you added it all up, and when you see it, it comes like $17,900. Well, I only have $15,000. That doesn't include chalk and all the other stuff I told you about. So I supplemented it with that. You can supplement it with other things, corporate sponsorships, fundraising, of course, booster clubs. That's separate, but your basic money that you get from the district is what I wanted you to struggle with, and you did. Jocelyn, you mentioned something in there to, oh no, I think it was Noel. You mentioned something to Jocelyn that, I noticed you're requiring all sports to fundraise for their own sport to manage itself. And again, requiring, you can tell your coaches, yeah, you kind of have to do some fundraising. That's part of this thing. But the way you craft the language to the students and the parents is key. It's very important. I'll try to put up the do's and don'ts from the Office of Civil Rights in a PowerPoint. If I can find it, I'll put it up there for you. It kind of goes through all that, what you can, and the language you can use and the language you shouldn't use to keep yourself out of trouble. Kevin, you mentioned you looked at how much it costs for equipment for the sports and broke it down from there. Basketballs can be used a lot longer than football or baseball. You're absolutely correct. Each sport is different. Baseball is probably one of the most expensive next to football because baseballs are $50 a dozen, and they don't last. If they get a little water on them, they're done. And practice balls, I used to buy cheaper practice balls than game balls. You'll save yourself maybe $20 a dozen or more. So those are kind of things that you need to find out. And then just to wrap this up, because I'm going 12 minutes and I hate to talk too much on these videos, but Craig, you did a really fine job. You detailed your budget. I've got it here. The one thing that jumped out at me were the gate receipts. I think you allowed for $9,500 in there, and it looks to me like it's going to the athletic budget, but I'm not sure where. But here's the deal with gate receipts. Most schools that I know of, the gate receipts from football, basketball, all those revenue sports, and there's not too many, those are used to pay for the officials for all the other sports, including football and basketball. Just ballpark figure, baseball, officials for 3 levels, it's about $2,900 a year. So that just gives you an idea. You got all these sports that require officials, and it adds up quickly. And the costs for officials go up. They're going up this year, I think, $1, and then the next year another $1, and finally $3 each. So that's a cost you got to consider. And yeah, that's part of an athletic director's job as well. I didn't give you that assignment because this is bad enough. But so, I would love to take the gate money and put it in that equipment and uniform money budget, but we couldn't do that. That has to go to pay officials, and that's not even enough. Usually, depends on the school, and of course, if you bring in people and you win, that's all a part of it. So there are other ways, but we're not going to get into it. There's not enough time in this class. But you guys did a great job on a budget. I gave you exactly what I had to work with at Don Lugo, and I didn't give you all the answers. I wanted you to struggle with it, and you did. And you did a really good job. Some of you were very creative, and that's good. That's good. As I said, there's no right way and wrong way to do this. It just has to work for you. And I think the key is being transparent with the coaches. They need to know ahead of time how much they're going to get from you so that they can fundraise and prepare, because I think that's key. I think that's all I have. I've been talking kind of fast. I've gone 15 minutes, and I apologize for that. But if you have any questions or anything you need to be working on that handbook, I hope you're making headway to that. If you need any questions answered, email me, please. And don't wait till the last minute. Plan ahead. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day, and God bless.